Hi everybody, this is Dale. Welcome to my channel, Not Too Shabby Chic. Today I have a design team project I just completed that I am in love with. This is for LavenderBlu, and I used two, well, that looks like four, doesn't it? Two of her kits. The first was old vintage wallpapers. The second was Grandma's scrapbook. And that's kind of what this theme is. I wanted it to be about ancestors or Grandma's scrapbook. So we'll just call this Grandma's scrapbook. And the idea of family and our ancestors and just a simpler, nostalgic time that I love. And we've gotten away from, you know, printing out photos and handwritten letters and those kinds of things that were so important and that I love to look at and hold and touch today. That's why I love the vintage things so much. So anyway, let's get started. I have a lace closure, this beautiful lace that looks really vintage but it's not, that I get at Hobby Lobby. So that is the closure, as well as I use it throughout the journal. I have this gorgeous fluffy tassel that's full of fibers and laces and beads with a little bell because I love the sound, and some vine trim. So you have that. This is the cover. This cover I actually purchased from Kathy Leatherman, who is in a couple of the Facebook groups that I'm in, and she just makes gorgeous covers, and I had to have this. I did add a couple of things to it to make it match some of the things I did on the inside of the journal, but she just did a beautiful job. I'm going to see if I can zoom in. Look at this detail. And this little girl with these wings. And it says, family is everything. And she sews all of that. And then you have these wonderful vintage laces and doilies hanging from the bottom. And I added this bow, which is from a little girl's dress I got at Goodwill. I added this little piece of trim here, as well as this trim on the spine I got at Hobby Lobby. And then on the back was plain, and I added these vintage doilies and vintage buttons. But this is just a gorgeous cover that I bought from her. So that's the first time I bought a pre-made journal cover, and it's made really well. It's a hardbound cover, and it's just great. So anyway, as you can see, Grandma's scrapbook is very, very fluffy, just like Grandma. So we have charms and what have you on the front, and we're going to go on the inside. So on the inside, I've added this lace, coffee dyed lace that I did, pocket with some trims, and this is from the cover. And I have added a vintage marriage certificate from 1865. Is that not so cool? And I love this handwriting. My camera has a hard time focusing. There we go. And there's the original stamp that was on when it was mailed, I guess, to whoever. This was Grandma's, her marriage certificate. Then we have a postcard that's a vintage postcard. I can't see the year. I want to say, hold on. Well, I can't say, but it was written with a typewriter, 1-cent stamp, and it's from John. And he's talking about a baby. Young John is just about accustomed to being at home since Tuesday noon after giving us a sleepless first night when he first came home from the hospital. So that's when little John was born. Isn't that sweet? I love these, and I just thought it went well with this book. And this is some of the Grandma's wallpaper pages that I just stapled and made into just a little journaling. And I printed the vintage wallpaper and the Grandma's scrapbook pages all on coffee dyed paper. So that's why they have a vintage look anyway, but it's more vintagey because I printed them on my coffee dyed papers. So here's some of the papers and my coffee dyed papers that make up this little booklet. And aren't those vintage wallpaper pages are just luscious. So you have that little booklet for journaling. This page, the background, of course, you can't hardly see it, but it's one from the kit. These two images are from the kit. See if I can zoom in a little more. Well, he wants to be fuzzy. And that little girl, but he's not fuzzy in person. So let's get back up. Let me see. There he is. I cut them out of a page. This was not from the kit, but it says photographs, and then I had this fabric that I stitched on and the vintage doilies and buttons that I added to that page. And I used this button trim that I get at Hobby Lobby that I am in love with, and I used it a lot, like every other page almost in this journal. So that is that page. The next page is a pocket, and this is some vintage wallpaper I got from Fiona with LavenderBlu. We did a swap. And I got the vintage wallpaper from her and gave her some laces and fibers, and I don't remember what else, but you can see the trims, and just here's the button trim. In this pocket we have another vintage letter, and this, I thought I could read the date when I put it in here. 1922. Fort Worth Club. And it's from a guy to his darling, Ed. It's from Ed. So anyway, I will make copies of these to keep. And then I have this large tag with the yellow eyelet at the top, and these are some images from the Grandma's scrapbook that I printed out in a different size and glued on this paper. And this says, thoroughly acquainted with family matters. Is what that says, and it's paper doily, and then you can journal on the back. And this is a pocket with the vintage wallpaper. It's a pretty sturdy little pocket. And then this side is from the kit. This is another piece I cut out of a page of this little boy. Let's see if you can get a closer up view of him. Isn't he cute? And this is vintage wallpaper kit. I also did some stamping here and there, as you can see on that page too, up here, with the coffee stain look. This, as you can see, I just have some vintage laces and buttons. And this is not vintage, yeah it is, vintage lace, but I darkened it with some ink. And then here's just a page you can journal on. You'll have to put something under it because it's kind of bumpy, and I may make a writing board for this. Some trims. This is with Tim Holtz die cut, and this is just full of different remember. I thought goes well with this kit, with this grandma scrapbook theme. Some vintage like ephemera, that's on vellum. It's a little letter on vellum. I think it's a Tim Holtz Dealio. Anyway, lots of just, you know, vintage stuff. These are fake vintage, those. These are real vintage tickets I got from Amore Fabriques. And then these are as well. And then where? That I just thought, like, where have I been? Where has the family gone? That kind of thing was what I had in mind. And again, this is from the kit, and I also did some foiling on some of the pages with this raggedy trim on that page and a little bit of button there. This, oops, I'm gonna go to this page. I just did some stamping. You can write button cluster trims. This is from the kit photo, and I used a frame, paper frame that I had, and inked it and foiled. It's got the vine trim and the lace like you saw on the cover. And then the background is the vintage wallpaper kit. This is a full page from the vintage wallpaper kit, and I added a little washi tape to help sturdy up this coffee dyed paper, and just for effect. And this is Days Gone By. Isn't that beautiful? And this page we have an altered paper clip, and this is an image from the kit that I cut out. Come on, there she is. To hold this closed, this is a vintage postcard I got from Pam Van E, and I just made a hinge out of washi tape. And you can journal on it if you like. And then this is from the kit, the vintage wallpaper, old vintage wallpaper that you can journal there. And this was holding that down. And you got the button trim, coffee staining. This is another vintage wallpaper, vintage postcard. And I love the little boy in the middle of the street. And I just thought it went well, like that's her grandson or something. And this is, I did some stamping on the back, and I did that one upside down, but it's for effect. But you could still write over that if you'd like. And then you can journal here. It's a button cluster, just some trim with some flat back pearls. Black and cream colored lace. This page, I had this trim and I made it look like a little curtain, and this is an image from Graphics Fairy of a woman on a bicycle, like you can see her through the window, and that's kind of the look what I was going for with that. So I thought that was cute. And you can journal here. And then this is from the Graphics Fairy, and it's like one of the dogs in the family. Scrap. This is from Graphics Fairy too. Some of the images will be from Graphics Fairy. Then I just did a raggedy cluster here. Here's a pocket, and this card, I can't remember if I got this from TLC Creates Vintage or Tsunami Rose, but it's got Psalm 121, 7 and 8. The Lord will keep you from all harm. He will watch over you, over your life. The Lord will watch over your coming and going, both now and forevermore. And I love that scripture. And that's true. And this is like he's watching over and has watched over this family. Here's a image from the kit that I cut out of the baby on this black circle. and vintage wallpaper on the back, and you can still journal there. And this letter I thought went great. It's Daddy's first letter after I was born. Isn't that awesome? This is from 1952, and it's just a typewritten letter. It's several pages of a man talking about, or the daddy talking about having a new baby when, so it was this Sunday afternoon, and who knew men could write such long letters that they did? This was awesome, and I just thought it was so sweet with this kit and the baby. This is from Graphics Fairy. It's a little boy and his dog, one of Grandma's grand youngins. And this is vintage wallpaper. Added some lace and the foiling. Some stenciling on this side, and you can still write on that. I added here this little flip that you can write on. Cute. And there's washi tape for effect. This is off of a little girl's dress. And a safety pin with just some little doodads. And this is from the kit, the vintage wallpaper. And I've added washi tape as well. This is a decoupage napkin that's pretty old, I think. It says memories. It just reminds me of like Grandma's table and the flowers she would have sitting on her table. Here we have the center of the first signature, and this has two signatures. I'm sorry, I'm bad about that. And I put in the center this Tim Holtz thing, the circle, metal circle. It says, "What lies before us and what lies behind us are small matters compared to what lies within us." And that's very true. This is, like I said, a fabric flip, but it's lace and doilies, vintage pieces. So there you go. And then under that, there's room for journaling. And I put some of the button trim at the top here. This side we have an image from the Grandma's scrapbook that I cut out and framed with some vintage lace. This is Noble Spirits, and this is a couple of yo-yos with a button that I made, and some coffee dyed lace or eyelet. So that's really cool. This is just a place that you can journal, and some lace that I added there. This is a pattern ephemera, and this is an old clip of some sort with a key, and it's vintage, and I've had it for a while and decided to stop hoarding and use it. So it is in this journal. Has quite a few vintage pieces and treasures in it. It's full of goodies. And this is vintage wallpaper, and the other side, this is a vintage postcard that says, if I turn it right side up you could read it, Lovers Lane, St. John, I guess, J-O period, Union Bank of London. And I left it on the back blank so that you can journal on it if you want, but it is a vintage postcard. Isn't that cool? Grandma's family somehow at one point went to London. This is the vintage wallpaper, and I did some copy staining. This is an image from Graphics Fairy, and these are some men that have been working. And I added washi to frame them, and this old theater ticket, like, they went to the theater that night or something. Just a piece of vintage lace, coffee stained. this is just coffee dyed paper here with some trim, washi tape, lace for journaling. This is from a magazine. I don't remember which magazine, but I thought it was adorable. So, and the pages were very fragile, crumbly. So I glued this down. This is the vintage wallpaper kit. It says "Life is but a breath," which is true. And this baby's kind of looking over here at Grandma. So here's, this isn't Grandma. This is old Aunt Mary. I had a vintage book that I purchased that was called Out to Old Aunt Mary, and it fell apart, and so I saved the spine where it's in gold. It says Out to Old Aunt Mary's, and I put that here. And I guess in the kit this is Grandma, but for Grandma's scrapbook, Grandma might be one of these younger folks in this book. And there's just some trims, button cluster, and what have you. And this is the whole page from the Grandma's scrapbook. This side I have a corner flip where you can journal. And this is the vintage wallpaper page. And this is just a little cluster tag somebody sent me in Happy Mail. I don't remember who, but I did a little extra inking on it and put that here. Here is a tag from one of my digital kits. It's Grungy Goodness, and you can journal on the back of that. And then this is a vintage certificate of merit from a piano book. It hasn't been filled out, so you can journal on the back, or you can fill it out. I started to fill it out to go with kind of the theme, but I didn't. This page is just a tuck, and I glued on one of these little Tim Holtz folks, the woman with the little boy. I just love that. I have the large one and the small one, and there goes the small one. This is from my Grungy Goodness digital kit, and this is just out of a paper pack. This is wine dyed paper, water paper that I have, and I added some bling there and lace at the top. This is vintage wallpaper from the kit. This image is from Graphics Fairy. It's like the whole family, or the dad and his kids. He got 5 of them, and I added just a butterfly, and I love this stuff. This was what those whole reinforcers were on, and this is really old, and I use it as trim here and there. This is from the kit, a little piece of an image that I cut out of those ladies you saw earlier on that page. This is just a corner of them cut out, and put that down as a little cluster and journaling spot, and you can see the trim. This is from Graphics, no, this is out of Daphne's Diary. I love that old car, and I put the word adventures. Someone in the family. This is just a eclectic page. This newspaper is from Greensboro, North Carolina, where I was born, and it's actually the year my dad was born, 1940. He gave it to me, and I've got the whole thick newspaper. Getting really crumbly, so I decided to start using it. So I have a piece that tore off, and city's growth over 50 years is chronicled. I figured Grandma would put that in her scrapbook. Coffee dyeing and some little stamping there and washi tape. This page is from this image is from the kit. Oop, I'm picking up my doily, my giant doily. And it's a woman. I printed this on some really dark paper, and she's reading a book, and this is the vintage wallpaper. I did some lace trims. This is an insert that's tied in the middle, so you can untie it and take it out and write in it, and if you get it filled up, there's room that you can add more to it, or stick a different book in there. But this is from Graphics Fairy. These images. And I just said life itself is grace, just true, and did some raggedy sewing on, and a lot of the stuff I've shown you has some stitching, sewing, and some doesn't, but it's just got, you see the sewing on the back, just different pages. This is a vintage thing on photography, shopping. We all love shopping. Grandma did. And here's a little pocket that you can tuck something in. And God's Wonderful People. It's a hymn. And then the photography page on the back. It's very old, and I took some tape and made it look vintage and put that on there. So there's that. This is a cute photo. Isn't that adorable? And I say that because this is actually me and my sister. And I thought it just went great with Grandma's scrapbook. This is from Dollar Tree, and I had the frame. Someone sent me in Happy Mail, and then I've got Inseparable because my sister and I are inseparable. And then I used this from Graphics Fairy. No, this is Tim Holtz. And a vintage button and some trim, and I sewed some fabric on this tag. You can see I just left the stitching on the back, and you can journal there. You have to kind of pick that up to get the button in. I like that showing where it says Inseparable. And then this is a copy of a vintage receipt, and I backed it with some craft paper and sloppy stitched around, so for journaling. This you can journal on, and this is scripture. I got this card when I first started journaling, actually, from Kathy Leatherman, and I thought that was cool that I dug this out, and I had purchased this cover from her recently, so I had to put this in. You are inscribed on the palm of his hand, Isaiah 49:16, and that's so true. It's one of my favorite scriptures, so Kathy is in my book. This is from the kit, the vintage wallpaper, old vintage wallpaper. This image is from Graphics Fairy, and I have this altered paper clip that goes on the back, and it has a little hat charm and a little tiny cork. And then on the back, it has a little pair of eyeglasses. And I made this little booklet with a little dress. And it says vintage. This is I learned to do from G. Kerr. And she's got some great tutorials on some origami stuff. So that's where that came from. And it's just another little journaling thing with different old papers that have coffee dyed all of these. So you've got that for extra journaling spot. And it holds on this side. I did some stenciling, which you can journal here. This is a postcard, and I decoupaged old napkin, not old napkin, a napkin. I think this was from Tuesday Morning with some washi tape, and it's a finch. Grandma loved finches. And then the back, it's a different napkin that had bees and stuff on it. And I decided to put it in here because Grandma had other things besides just family in here. So I just thought that was pretty. This image is from Graphics Fairy, and I had this old book page piece, and I was like, wow, that goes perfect. No extra charge for the strings. It says, to know the past. Grandma and Grandpa wanted me to know of the past. For if you don't know where your people have been, then you won't know where your people are going. And so they told me most of it. Isn't that cool? I just found that just when I needed it. I always thank God for helping me do stuff like that, because it wouldn't happen if by accident, or that I would just happen to find stuff, some of the things that I put in my journals. But this is like a collage page of old photos from Graphics Fairy. Here's a coffee dyed page with some washi. This is from the kit, and I added this trim I got at a Hobby Lobby and inked it. This is a vintage postcard that was torn up. I mean, it was just crumbly, old, and I got that from H. Zern on the TLC Creates Vintage or free printable site. And I included, this is a Tim Holtz tag. This is a Tim Holtz image on top of my Grungy Goodness printable kit with a tab on top, foil tab, and a cutout of a vintage library card. I mean, a library card that looks vintage. It's not vintage. This is from the kit, Grandma's Scrapbook, and I put this cloth thing that says portraits, and I don't remember who I bought these from, but they were on coffee dyed paper, all kinds of different words, and I bought like 2 sets of them. A little vintage lace and a vintage button. That came from Lulu Birds when I bought something from her. This is from the kit, and I added stories always inspire, and they do. Our stories, your story, our ancestors' stories inspire us to do things. And then it's got the foiling. This, I just glued some paper page numbers from a book, and this is a little tag that moves out, and then this comes out for a little secret mini journaling spot, concertina kind of fold, and that goes there. Isn't that cute? This is from the kit. This is those women you kept seeing. I'd cut off this part and use it, and that part, and this is the whole page. I just did some rose trim. I just thought that was pretty and didn't do a lot with that. This I got in Happy Mail, this little pocket, and I added the lace here. It says Vintage Girl. This is a stamp from Red Lead Stamps. This is, I did a tutorial on using a claim check to make a journal. So that's a little mini journal using a claim check. It wraps around, and there's a few of my ink and coffee dyed papers in there, and for journaling. Isn't that cute? Tie that back later. Just a couple. This is Appleton's penmanship, and this is a Tim Holtz card for journaling. And then you can journal back there, and I did some stamping. I'm trying not to make this video too long, but this is a big book. This is just a copy of a vintage letter. It might be Tim Holtz, I don't remember. This is the old vintage wallpaper. We have, this says out of Tim Holtz. It's New Orleans, and it's fabric of, so I can't even read what it says because I don't do French. I barely do English, but it had fabric, so I thought it went cute. And this is shirts are the cheapest and the best. It's like a pattern. I thought it was cute, and you can journal on the back. And then this is just some coffee dyed paper tucked in here that you can journal on. And this is from the scrapbook, Grandma's old scrapbook pictures, and I use this stamp from Red Lead, and the wings are from a stamp from Red Lead, and it says, I promise to love myself, have faith, sprout my wings, leap forward, feel the wind in my hair, bit by bit I will grow strong. And I just thought that was cute, and I put the wings there with the little girls because it's talking about sprouting your wings. So those little girls grew stronger every day. Coffee dyed paper. This is from the kit, old vintage wallpaper. This image is from the kit. this image is from Graphics Fairy, and I added the little butterfly with his little antennae, and it says Diary of a Lady of Leisure. And there, I think, in my mind, is Grandma. And that's when she was younger, both of them reading books. I just pretend as I go through. And this is some other lace I got from Hobby Lobby. This is a CD cover that I decorated and has a vintage photo here with the lace and button cluster. This is just from a paper pack. It says, Love This Memory. And you can journal there. And this is just a flashcard to help you do your math. And that's some coffee dyed paper I did. And this image, sorry, is me and my sister when we were little. I printed that out and thought it went well with this journal. And I love this. I found this little book at Goodwill that are quotes by Jane Austen. This quote says, You must try not to mind growing up into a pretty woman. Jane Austen, Mansfield Park, 1814. And then I stitched around the page, and on the back it says, Marriage indeed is a maneuvering business. Yes, it is. And I was just tickled to death to get the book. And this I did a tutorial on. It's a hair clip that I glued lace on and a bow that you can use for your clipping things in. And it's actually really good because it doesn't scratch because you've got the ribbon on it or tear. So love that. This is an image from Graphics Fair. No, I got this from Red Lead. A freebie they sent. This is old vintage wallpaper with some washi tape. But I love this little girl. I've seen her used by a lot of different people. She's in Graphics Fairy too. Isn't she adorable? That little bowl haircut. This is just a little cluster I bought a long time ago, and I don't remember who I bought it from. It was on something else, and I took it off and put it here. And so it's just a little tuck spot. This is a ATC card I made. It says, Remember to Play. And it's got some Tim Holtz images. Isn't he cute? And we forget that. And then this is on, the background is from my jelly prints. And this says, With Love. Place to journal there. I just love that little boy, and coffee dyed paper and all that good stuff. And you can see all the button trim that's on throughout. There's old Aunt Mary again. This is a vintage piece of jewelry. This says Family on a safety pin on a vintage piece of doily. And then a cluster of, I love the raggedy kind of side clusters. And I've put seed droppings. And people may think, what in the world would you do that for? Because we plant seeds for our family. And this grandma, as a lot of our ancestors did, left seed droppings. They dropped seeds in their family throughout their life of their legacy and what their family was. And this family had faith. And so you find scripture and different things in this journal. And so she dropped and sowed seeds for her family for the future. And that's why that's there. I love this little boy. This was from, I got from Red Lead too. Is he not the cutest? I just love that picture. And this is from that old Aunt Mary book. This was the author, but I thought that could be his name. James Whitcomb Riley, I believe. And it's the background page is from the kit, old vintage wallpaper, and of course lace trims. This is from the kit. I cut out an image of this lady, and I just stamped and inked on my coffee dyed paper, and there's washi tape, and this is from Tim Holtz thing. I don't know what you call that. You got the frame and the little stickies. you could put in there. This is an image from the kit. Oh no, I have to stick some washi tape on there for sure. I had taken this with me to let some people look at it, and that probably happened then, or I could have done it, who knows, but that will fix it, and it looks cute there. This lace, I just cut out some tiny pieces and put special gift, which is what life is, what babies and children are to us and to God, are a special gift. See how I cut those out, and they look really cute. This is a card from my sister, and this is just an altered paper clip I dyed with alcohol ink, with celery alcohol ink, and just tied that cheesecloth. This came from my sister, I think. No, it didn't. I got this at the Turnip Green. It was a set of these, and I thought these two kids were so cute, and I just stamped from, these are from Red Lead, "Dear you, always shine bright." And I love this saying. It's a Japanese proverb: fall 6 times, stand up 7. That's also part of a scripture in the Bible, in Proverbs, that talks about though a righteous man fall down 7 times. That's the only part I remember. But you get back up and God helps you. This is from Melissa Barnes sent me this with part of a Happy Mail in a journal. I purchased a journal from her, and she made that little bookmark. I thought that was so cute. So I just kind of clipped it in so it won't fall out like that. This is a page from Grandma's Scrapbook. Same couple. They fall in love, so they did. And some of my funky trim, and a vintage doily, and a vintage button. I love that giant button. I finally used it. There's that man you saw earlier with from the kit, and this background paper, of course. And I just cut him out and used him under this frame and put romantic memories. And I feel like Grandma was remembering. And this is a calling card. Lurdy C. Arbogast. He looks like Lurdy, doesn't he? So that's his name. And then I made a belly band out of this trim from Hobby Lobby. And in here we have several, this is cards. I got this in Happy Mail from someone a long time ago, and I don't remember who. Anyway, this is from a wedding that Grandma wants to remember. Maybe it was Grandma. A journal on the back. This is a vintage postcard, and I did the heartbeat stitch. It says, "Just lift the latch when you feel inclined to call. Do not hesitate at all. A welcome you will always win. Just lift the latch and walk right in." Isn't that pretty? So you can journal on that. And then this is from TLC Creates Vintage. Love these set of scripture cards I got from her. "When my heart is overwhelmed, lead me to the rock that is higher than I." Psalm, I can't remember, see it. 61:2, but I love that verse. And you can, I backed it with some coffee dyed paper. You can journal on that. So there's that. Then this is an altered paper clip that I got from Sherry Schmear in Happy Mail. No, this was a swap where we did altered paper clips. And I added Uniquely You, and I added this image from Graphics Fairy on the back. And this, I love the way Sherry did these. They just slide right over the page, you know, like it won't hurt your page. And that was holding this closed. This is a cabinet card from Graphics Fairy, and I hinged it with some micropore tape, like that surgical tape, so that you can journal. It's a washi tape around, and this was to hold her closed. Get in there, girl. This is another one of my hair bow clips, and I made this so long ago. I have a picture of it in my Etsy shop that you can purchase, but it prints out cool, but this is the original. I'm letting it go. This is some vintage jewelry and some trims, and and it's on rice paper, and I've always loved this tag, but I won't use it. I just kept hoarding it, so I finally decided it went well in Grandma's scrapbook. The rice paper and the stitching you can see on the back. So I'm letting it go, folks. This is packed full of jewels. And treasures. So it'll be listed in my Etsy store, and if you're interested before it goes in the store, you can private message me, and we'll see. Here's another flip. This is from my kit, the Grungy Goodness. I love that paper. I backed it with some coffee dyed paper. These are some pages from, I think, from TLC Creates Vintage. Forgive like Jesus did. There's power in the name of Jesus. God's help is only a prayer away. And pray more and worry less. And is that not what we need today? But these are some pages that you can journal on in your quiet time or whenever you want. And here's a guest check that I inked up that you can journal on. There's all that. And this is a coffee dyed page. You can see the trim. Oh, I forgot about the middle. At the middle of this signature, I put this old rusty key, because our ancestors and what have you, I just think it's the key to our identity, to know who we were, like that saying was, to know where we're going to go. Get back over here. There. So this is just a coffee dyed page you can write on. This says memories, and this is that picture you saw in the front of me and my sister. But this is just a little flip journaling spots here. Little different papers, coffee dyed papers and stuff. This is from the kit. And then I just sewed this vintage Battenberg lace, and this trim is from India. And this is a Tim Holtz image you can journal on. So is that. And this is something I've hoarded as well. It's one of my shaker cards I made. That you, it's got a butterfly, a flower, a little lock in there, and a little key. I finally let that go. And then you already saw the back. So that, my dears, is Grandma's scrapbook. And I hope you enjoyed it. And it will be listed in my Etsy store. And you can private message me if you're interested before I put it in there. So know you're loved. I love you guys. I appreciate you. And I thank you for watching and for subscribing to my channel. If you haven't, please do so. And you can hit that bell and be notified of other videos that I do. I will link below LavenderBlu Etsy shop for those two kits. If you're interested, they are truly beautiful kits. And if I think of other things I'm supposed to link, I will. If not, I mentioned them. So everything should be good. But I really love doing this, and it was a labor of love. It is chock full, like I said, of treasures and vintage goodies and jewelry and you know, memorabilia, and a lot of work. But as you know, in the junk journal world, that's what we do. So have a wonderful and blessed day. Know again that you're loved. Bye-bye. See you in the next video.